Catherine, thank you for coming on Face Speaks Louder. Now, as with a lot of guests, I've been trying to get you on the podcast for ages. And I'm so thankful you were here because we've done a lot in common.
Yes.
Now, you are now an MS for Reform in the Senedd.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. And you are also a Christian.
I am, yes.
Now,
I am.
That's what pricked my ears up when I first heard about you, is that you are a Christian that was standing for reform. But we'll go into that in a bit because that's a whole story in itself. But tell me, how were you finding being an MS?
Well, first of all, it's a fantastic privilege to be an MS. It's fantastic to represent the valleys, the community, you know, that I'm representing there. I've settled in really, really well. And our Reform group is a fantastic group. And we're serious about what we do, but we're also a very, very connected group.
Sure.
And we're very strong in that, yes.
Oh,
so
I love it.
Very well, yes. Thank you.
What constituency are you representing?
Blaenau Gwent, Caerphilly and Rhymney.
Oh, so it's quite a large area.
Yes, so if you look at the map, it's the one that's sort of a hook shape and it's a large area.
Right.
And we're representing all of the valleys.
Yes.
And Caerphilly, going right up into Rhymney.
Right.
So it's a very, very large area, yes.
Yeah, so it's mostly a villagey area with the towns in between, not a city type.
No, it's not a city,
Okay.
and it's some of it is sort of traditional valley towns, Tredegar, Ebervale. So it's an honour and a privilege, to be honest, and it's where my mother and father are from.
Oh,
so
right.
that really resonates with me. Yes.
So were you brought up there as well?
Yes, around that area, and I actually lived in Caerphilly for a while as well.
Right.
But I'm really, really honoured to be representing those, I guess, mining communities, ex-mining communities.
That's it.
Very close to my heart. Yes.
Yeah, because if you're gonna see anything that's innately Welsh, you need to go to the valleys, isn't it? Because the valleys hold that special Welshness, I think, that you just don't get anywhere else. It's a magnificent place to go.
The communities, the families there, our matriarchs, our motherly matriarchs in the valleys. And it's a real privilege and honour. And of course, a lot of our politicians, like Aneurin Bevan, were from the valleys as well, if we think back to the miners' strikes and things like that, so a lot going on in the valleys, yes.
Right, so now you were in the Senedd now, and obviously you Reform didn't get a majority, but you form a really good opposition.
They are a powerful opposition.
They really are a powerful opposition. I've been watching and I've been like, wow, there's some real characters coming up now that I think are quite intimidating to Plaid and Labour and all them, because they are so confident in what they talk about, passionate. And I think it's been a long time since we've seen Welsh people bring that passion. With a bit of humour as well, because if you watch Joe Martin, he brings a bit of humour in as well.
I think there's a real, there is. And I think there's a real mix.
Yes.
And one of the things I'm incredibly proud of is that there's a uniqueness from every single person in the Reform group.
Yes.
There is a definite uniqueness, and we're all bringing something to that chamber, and we're all challenging, and we're all a very, very good opposition, I think. And you haven't seen anything yet. I think there's going to be a lot more to come.
Yeah, you've only just started. It's only been a few months.
Started.
It's crazy how Reform have already dominating the Senedd in the news, and a lot of it coming from opposition news media. And Reform seem to be on it quite a lot at the minute, because they are taking seriously their roles in the Senedd, and it's fantastic. Now, as far as your role in the Senedd, I've seen a few things that you've done. Do you find it intimidating standing there when you've got, Plaid watching you and Labour watching you? What do you feel when you having to stand up and speak?
Well, I think at the minute that those doors open and you take your seat, you are taking the seat for the constituents that you're representing.
Yes.
And so you need to be doing the best for them, standing up. In there, it's, we're all politicians together, and I think you've just got to stand up, say your piece, and you've got to go with the convictions that you've got in your heart as well.
Yes.
As well as, you know, go in with what our party is about. And I think you've just got to go in there, have your confidence, and say your speech, you know, and I think that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned convictions there. A lot of your convictions are going to come from the place of the fact that you're a Christian.
Yes.
Right, and is that why you stood for reform? Because of those Christian convictions?
Yes, so I think you've got to go, as a Christian, you know, you've got to go with the party and the policies that best represent you know. And for me, my political journey is quite, you know, colourful, I guess. You know, both my parents from the valley, so they were Labour,
right,
you know, Labour, and they grew up in that environment. And then I voted Labour probably till I was about in my mid-20s.
Yes.
Then, exactly, right. And then one day a friend said to me, put the manifestos in front of you and see, you know, what you think, you know. And I suddenly realised that actually I wasn't conforming to that any longer, and I just voted Conservative for a while. But of course, when Reform came out, I'd watched Nigel in the European, you know, Parliament. Reform came out, and I thought this is exactly where most of my morals lie.
Yes, absolutely.
And where then my political values were going to lie.
Yeah. Now, obviously for myself, I had a major struggle, which everybody saw in my podcast, of who I was going to vote for, because there was, you know, a few right-leaning parties that fitted my values and my moral compass and my convictions. However, Reform really did stand out to me. But one thing that was blocking me from voting for Reform was Nigel Farage, because the media are so loud about the man.
Yes.
And their portrayal of him, that when I started digging deeper, a lot of the stuff just wasn't true. Can I ask, what do you think about Nigel?
I think he's fantastic. I've been down to Clacton, you know, supporting him in his by-election there. I think he's a fantastic politician. I watched him for a long time in the European Parliament. Really made me want to, you know, join the party. I think he is an honest man, you know, and I think he's been unjustly done by the media.
Right. And why do you think they're gunning for him so much? Is it because he is a threat to the establishment?
Well, I think you've seen how well Reform's doing in the Senedd. And of course, Reform is doing well up and down the UK at the moment.
Very well.
And I think this does rock the establishment. Yes, it does. Yes.
Now, Reform, right, they do stand for Christian morals and values. When I started the podcast and I wasn't supporting Reform, but I was saying that it looks like the only party that is willing to stand up for our morals and values as Christians. And there was a lot of fallout in the Christian community because they don't believe that Reform are of God, don't believe that they stand for godly values, and were kind of petitioning for Plaid. Where do we stand, or where do you stand as a Christian? Because Reform are about sanctity of life and making sure our churches are secured for future generations, whereas Plaid want to do away with all that. Where do you stand with it all?
Well, like I say, I went to Reform because I'm like you, you know, I believe that they would stand up for Christian values. I would challenge those people to talk it out, you know, and to see why they would want to, you know, go with any of the other parties in their political, you know, life. For me, it's definitely about, you know, about the Bible. It's about standing on the word, and I would challenge anybody who comes away from their biblical principles. But I will say that across the Senedd, there are many Christians from other parties. So there is an eclectic group of Christians, and it would be interesting, I think, to discuss that amongst those, you know, amongst those Christians, you know. But yes, there are a wide group across all of the parties. But with me, Reform values, family, community, country resonates with my faith.
And I think that's so important, especially saying that there are Christians within Plaid, within Labour, and it's important that all those Christians come together to debate each other and to come to a consensus on where they stand, because I think there's such disunity. And we don't have to be so divided.
No.
Do you mean, even if we don't agree, we still need to have the left parties, we still need to have right parties, and we still need to have central parties, so that we can all come to an agreement.
Yes.
It's not good having an all right, government and an all left government. That's never right for a
Well, it
country.
becomes an echo chamber, doesn't
Exactly.
it? And
Exactly.
yeah, and like I say, with faith, there is a lot of Christians across the Senedd and in all governments. I mean, everywhere, every job you go to, you will meet Christians in the environment. So,
It's
yes.
true.
Yeah.
Now you obviously go to church.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you okay to say which church you go to?
I am okay to say which church.
Which one?
Yeah, so I go to Victory Church in Cwmbran.
Which is a fantastic church, by the way. And if you want to go there. They've got brilliant ministers. Clyde and Rebecca are fantastic.
Yes.
Now, are you being supported by that church?
Honestly, I can say 100%.
Yeah.
We went through a long process.
Yes.
When we were being selected for the party. During that process, my church family were amazing. They prayed all the way through.
Yeah.
And even in the most difficult bits, I had a couple of people that were really behind me, really focused, and that really has helped me.
Yes.
And as well as the church, within, like I say, the Senedd environment, there are Christians, and they've been exceptionally supportive as well. So I have had a fantastic response. Yes,
that's wonderful. That's absolutely phenomenal, because I think it's important the church stands up and throws their weight around people who are trying to make change in their communities.
Yes, and I don't think it matters which party,
To be honest,
because, for the churches, because again, churches have got lots of political ideas as well. But I think it matters to get behind the people in your church family.
Exactly. I think the church needs to come around values and morals, not party.
Yes.
So it's not about what party you're supporting.
That's right.
It's about what are you supporting morally? What are the policies? What does the manifesto say? Is it aligning with Scripture and the Bible? And then go from there.
Yeah.
But it's important that churches do start speaking out. I think we've been silenced for so long, Christians. And that's why I was so excited to see that you were elected to be in the Senedd. Because the more Christians that have a voice in our politics, the better.
Yeah, of course.
Because we are a Christian nation.
Yes.
Yes. So what's your plans going forward now? What do you want to see happen in the Senedd, in Wales, going forward?
I think, in Wales, we need to see sort of like reform policies coming forward, I think for me, I'm very focused on education because I used to be a teacher.
Right.
And I would like to see, our schools doing better.
Yeah.
We've got lowest PISA rankings at the moment. I want to see our schools thriving.
Yeah.
As a parent, I would like to see ALN funded properly.
Sure.
So that our ALN children have got the best start in life. Everybody needs that best start so that they can reach their potential in life. So for me, education's particularly important, and that's the area really I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
Obviously, to be able to speak out, to have debate, free speech, all of that, I think is really important. And I think, Wales is such a wonderful country, isn't it? I'm so proud of where I live.
Yeah.
And I would really, really like to see Wales flourishing economically.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been out on visits recently to our industries, manufacturing, our factories. Yeah. One factory I spoke to, £30,000 a month before they could even have any sort of profit on what they were doing. So we really have got a long way to go. Cost of living. Let's get our families' energy bills down.
Absolutely.
So that they can actually afford to make choices between heating and, food on the table. And the same with the elderly.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to look after our elderly. And that, to me, that's very, very important. Yeah.
Going back, obviously, you were a teacher.
Yes.
Why do you think our education is the worst in the UK?
I think it's a number of things, really. But one of the things that I've been particularly focusing on has been the erosion of sort of maths, English, and our core subjects. Because now we're getting a lot of what I would call ideology coming into schools, which is replacing our maths, our English. You know, I mean, COVID didn't help either. I think that put some children back. But the main focus has to be on their reading, their writing, and their arithmetic, you know.
That's what school is there for.
Yes, of course it is. Of course it is, yeah. It's not there to be, you know, to be anything else other than a really good place for our children to grow and to learn. And, you know, not to be kind of infiltrated with ideology. And I know Jason spoke last week about ideology coming into lots of different areas in society, but I think that's got to come, you know, it has to be a separate entity, not just flooded into schools.
I mean, schools are there to give the children the best start for business, for how to work in the real world, not to create social justice warriors. Do you mean? If that's what their parents want to talk to them about, then absolutely, you know, because that's when my parents talk to me about politics, talk to me about social things, spiritual things, you know, that's what your parents are there for. And unfortunately, some parents do fall short on that, but that's up to them. It's not up to the school to teach ideologies.
No.
It's
the way I view it is that schools are there and the children and the parents are the customers.
Right, exactly.
Right? So that's the way I view it. But we have some fantastic schools. I have to say, we also have some very, very good schools in our area, you know, and we're to be proud of our teaching staff, you know, for coping with large class sizes, with a lot of ALN and supported in the classroom. You know, they are working very, very hard, and I'm very proud of the way that they are moving forward.
We've had a lot of teachers and a lot of head teachers who have done the best with the worst resources. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, my kids have gone through, I got to say, the best school in Wales. I just have to say it. And they had the best headmaster that I could have ever hoped for. He was a Christian as well. And he was phenomenal because my middle child who had speech and language issues, he got all the help for him. He was absolutely phenomenal and gave all my children the best chance.
And that's what you want, isn't it?
It is.
And I've got you know, ALN children in my family, you know, and you know, I mean, my one boy, you know, it took him 6 years to be diagnosed, but in that time he had fabulous support from. They're in a Catholic school. They had fabulous support from all the teachers there, you know, and he's now doing reasonably well. You know, he's really thriving in his school.
So it just shows that it's not a teacher problem we've got.
No, I don't think it is.
It's not.
No.
I think our teachers are fantastic, and I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of teachers along the way, of doing this podcast, and they are wonderful, who have got passion to see their children, thriving in Wales. But unfortunately, because of the resources are so bad, you know, the buildings are terrible.
Yes, they are.
You know, and they're trying to make the best out of a really bad situation. So I think it is the education that we need to address. It's not the teachers.
No. And I think in our manifesto, we really want to focus on, you know, taking that ideology away, you know, and creating really, really good schools to, you know, so that our Welsh children can have the best opportunities in life.
Now, another reform policy that came out was that they were going to ban any people buying old churches, specific religions, Islam, from buying up old churches and converting them into mosques, etc. Where do you stand on that?
I think our churches are really important in Wales. I think that we need to keep them as churches. If you think back to the revival days, you know, it saddens me to see, I drove past one the other day to see when all boarded up, you know, because my view is that people should be looking after mental health,
Yes.
you know, their emotional health, but very, very importantly, and one that's not really talked about, is their spiritual health.
Yes.
And how can you do that if your church is not there? I mean, we at ours, we are very outward focused.
Yes.
And we provide a lot in our community.
Yes.
And that's really where my community work came from.
Yeah.
And really how I went towards, you know, reform, and how I was seen by reform, I think, because of my community work, outreaching from the church.
It's such a big part of Welsh culture.
Of course,
It's chapel.
Yeah.
I was brought up in chapel, you know, and we had Sunday school. All of my friends from school went to Sunday school. It was a big part of who we were growing up. And that's where you learn to be part of choirs as well.
Yes.
Because of chapel singing, Cymavaganis, all this type of stuff.
That's right, yeah.
But then for some reason there was a switch over, and it was probably about 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, where people started to not go to church.
Yes.
And I think we've seen a massive decline in our well-being because people are not attending church. Is that something you are encouraging people to do, is to find an active church in your community?
I think so. I think, there's some fantastic churches that are coming up in the community.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some great work in, you know, in Blaen y Gwent recently, you know, fantastic churches coming up, really getting out into the community. And our youngsters, you know, they are really, some of them are really, really plugging in.
Yes.
You know, and it is heartbreaking to see, you know, pews empty. But I think the more active churches there are, the more help there is for people in the community.
Yes.
And somewhere to come when times are difficult.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even for lonely people,
Yeah.
you know, the church has been essential.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? All the way through COVID, it was the churches that were helping out. I was on a Salvation Army bus doing burgers for the homeless, you know.
Yes.
All the Christians mucked in, the churches mucked in to make sure that every part of our society was catered for. And that's what Reform stands for, isn't it?
Yes, of course it is. I mean, the thing that we stand for, I think, mainly is family cohesion.
Yes.
And, you know, because if you start breaking down your family, society starts breaking down,
It's
right?
true. Yeah.
So family cohesion is really important. Yeah. And then, of course, the next thing then, once you've got that, is really your community.
Yes.
And we, like I say, we're an outlooking church. I'm an outlooking individual.
Yes.
There are no walls.
No.
So, you know, that's the way I view it.
Yeah.
And it's very, very important to hold, you know, your community events for people to see you, you know, be visible. And I think, I'm really looking forward to what the church has got to offer, you know, in the up and coming years. Yeah.
It's wonderful. Now, I asked Jason some questions about reform policies. I just want to ask you a quick fire round question.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Obviously, immigration has been a big deal.
Oh,
In newspapers recently, obviously in light of what's been happening in Spain and all that type of stuff. As a Christian, right, because I've got this tug of war in me, because I want to welcome everybody in. Oh, just come on in, Cariad, let's, you know, just let me kind of help you. But then there's a line that's got to be drawn in the sand when it comes to illegal immigrants and mass immigration. Where do you stand on it as a Christian?
I think that it is a difficult topic, you know, to talk about. I think that we've got to that point, haven't we, where that line has to be drawn.
Yeah.
We have illegal immigrants coming into the country via boats.
Yes.
We don't know who they are.
No.
We don't know, we know roughly where they come from, but we don't know who they are. We don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
And then that puts other people in the country in danger.
Yeah.
Very often we don't know where they come from in terms of maybe a religious angle either, so we don't know any of that.
That's it.
But what we do have, of course, in Wales is this idea that we are to be a nation of sanctuary.
Yes.
And a school of sanctuary,
Right.
and then towns of sanctuary. So we have, you know, really, I guess, opened that door to those illegal immigrants coming in who want to seek asylum.
Yeah.
So we have had to, at some point, to say, look, we cannot do that any longer, you know?
No.
And I think that has come from, you know, our party leaders, you know, that we, you know, that's the way we look at it, and that's the way I look at it as well.
Yeah, because it isn't racist to say that we cannot accommodate that amount of people
No.
It's nothing to do with the race.
No.
It's everything to do with, we don't know who they are. We don't know where they've come from. We don't know what religion they partake in. We don't know their families, their circumstances.
No.
And a lot of these are just men.
Yes.
Now, if there was children there, I'd have a different opinion. I'd be like, no, we've got to protect the children that are coming in. But since the majority are men,
yes, they are.
Right? These men can look after themselves. I think there has to be a line drawn. I'm not in favour of a nation of sanctuary personally. Are you in favour?
No, I think at Reform we're not in favour of nation of sanctuary.
That's it.
And you know, we've been debating things around that, but we're definitely not you know, not for that. We don't really want to put that flag up to say come here. I mean, our resources are you know, depleting really. We've got housing problems. There are social problems, and we really need to draw the line on it.
Right, and I completely agree. Now, a lot of people will be like, oh, but she's a Christian. Right?
Yeah.
But heaven has borders.
Yeah, yeah. We have to have borders. It has to be, you know, we do have to have borders. You know, all countries have borders.
Yes.
You know, they have rules, they have regulations. Some countries, you know, will not accept illegal immigration at all.
No.
And they are Christian nations.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, so we do have to have this drawing the line, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, moving on to Wales. We've obviously talked about your love for Wales. You absolutely love Wales.
Yes,
and I can see you brimming over with the love for Wales. Are you for independence or not?
No.
Right.
I see Wales very much as part of the United Kingdom.
Yes.
I'm very proud again to be part of the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
And you know, the United Kingdom has been very strong for many years.
It has.
You know, and I'm really for staying, you know, sort of with the UK.
Yeah,
you know,
so it is possible to love Wales and love being British.
Yes, of course it is. You can be both.
Yes,
you know, you can be both.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So with that, I'm absolutely fine. Yes, staying with the UK.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think that some Welsh people have still got this thing about being part of anything to do with England? I don't think they mind being part of Scotland or Northern Ireland, but I think when it comes to England, for some reason, there's this.
I don't know. I think it's part of the, you know, sort of the Celtic alliance. I guess if you want to call it that, you know. But I don't understand where they're coming from. Really,
No.
I think we do really well, you know, being part of the UK. So so from my point of view, I'm more than happy with that. Yeah,
I love it. You're very straightforward. This is what I find with Reform, right? You ask the question, they give you the answer.
Yes.
You know, a lot of politicians just don't give answers, or they just try and get round it either way. Do you think this is why maybe people take the likes of Nigel Farage or even Dan Thomas, Richard Tice, and Zia Yousaf, they're all a bit like, oh, how dare they say that? Because they literally tell you straight.
Well, I think personally that we are straight.
Yeah.
We are straight talking at Reform. And I think what we're saying is what many people in the UK are thinking.
Again, it's true.
Yeah, and sometimes saying, but we are saying it in our governments, and I think that's really important.
It is. Do you think there is a silent majority? Because we know that in elections, only about 50% of people turn up to actually vote. Do you believe there's a silent majority who actually believe in the morals, the values of Reform? And, you know, parties like Restore Heritage on them, they believe in those, but for some reason there's this apathy of coming out to vote.
Yeah, I mean, voter apathy is something that, you know, it saddens me really, I think.
It does. Yeah.
I think if you want to change something, just one vote counts.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, going out and using your vote really counts.
Yes.
And we saw this when we were in the last elections.
Yeah.
Some of our candidates, you know, they got in by 100, 200 votes. You know, it's really important that people exercise their vote. I think what's happened is because we've had many years of things not being right in government and they've been seeing U-turns and all sorts of things, people have stopped going out to vote. I would say go out, go and vote, because people fought for your vote many years ago.
Absolutely.
And it's really, really important that you go.
Yeah, I think it's become almost like a novelty to be able to vote, not a conviction.
Yeah.
And I think we have to get back to conviction to vote.
Yes.
And that's the only way we're going to change our nations,
Yeah.
is prayer and vote.
Yes.
Isn't it?
And
Both.
passion. I mean, people in Wales
Passion.
are passionate.
Yes, we
they
are.
are passionate at heart. And it is incredibly sad to see those, you know, when they've become, had that apathy to voting.
Yeah.
It's very, very important to just go out and vote, and to vote locally too.
Yes,
vote
true.
for your councillors, you know, the ones that are going to make the difference on your street every day.
Yes, because you've got the council elections coming next year now, isn't it? So it's really important that people understand who stands for what. Have a look, ask them. Ask your local councillors, ask the ones who are standing, what do you believe in?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
You have to get to know one.
Yes, yeah, you do. And you know, it's really important. They are approachable.
Yeah.
You know, don't feel afraid to approach, you know, your MS or to approach a local councillor.
Yeah.
And just, you know, just ask, you know. But yeah, it's really important. I would love to see every single person exercising their right to vote.
Yes, absolutely. Well, can I just say thank you for coming on, Catherine.
Oh, you're welcome.
She's fearless. And we prayed for you when you were a candidate, that you would get in, and I'm so thankful that we got voices like yours in the Senedd, because it's so needed, and I know that God's going to bless everything that you put your hand to.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. It's been a real honour to come here today, and to sit amongst Christians as well, and speak about politics. So thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. May it long continue.
Thanks,
Catherine.